In this video we are going to study a very instructive game in which you will see how black defeats white using the Nimzo-Indian defense. The game began with the move d4. Black answered knight f6, developing the king's knight and taking control of the e4 square. White played c4, to increase his control over the central squares. Black replied e6, reinforcing the defense of the d5 square and allowing the development of the king's bishop. White played knight c3, developing the queen's knight and taking control of the e4 square, so that white threatens to occupy the center with his pawns. Black played bishop b4, entering the Nimzo-Indian defense. Black pins the knight on c3 and indirectly controls the e4 square, thus preventing white from occupying the center with his pawns. White played a3, immediately attacking the bishop, with the idea of breaking the pin. After bishop takes c3. B takes c3. Black played b6, a very flexible move. Black's idea is to develop his queen's bishop on the b7 square, to occupy the large diagonal of light squares and increase control over the e4 square. White played f3, blocking the large diagonal of light squares and preparing the move e4, to form a powerful pawn center. Black played bishop a6, attacking against the c4 pawn, which is a weakness in white's camp. White played e4, occupying the center with his pawns and defending the c4 pawn with his bishop. Black played knight c6, completing the development of his minor pieces. Black's plan is to move the knight towards the a5 square, to increase the pressure on the c4 pawn. Now, white made the move e5, advancing in the center and attacking against the knight on f6. Black answered knight g8, defending his knight, which can then be reactivated through the e7 square. White played knight h3, developing his knight without blocking the action of his bishop. Black played knight a5, increasing the pressure against the c4 pawn and threatening to capture it. White played queen a4, to defend the pawn. Black played knight e7, reactivating the knight. White played bishop g5, developing his queen's bishop and pinning the opponent's knight. Black castled. White played bishop d3, completing the development of his minor pieces. Black played queen e8, coming out of the pin and aiming at the opposing queen. White played knight f2, bringing the knight closer to the center. Black played h6, attacking the opposing bishop, with the idea of forcing it to retreat. White played bishop c1, removing the bishop, with the idea of preserving the pair of bishops. Black played d6, threatening to exchange queens and also attacking the e5 pawn. If now white exchanges the queens. After rook f takes e8. The c4 pawn is attacked. After c5. Black can follow bishop takes d3. Knight takes d3. D takes c5. D takes c5. Rook e to d8, attacking the opposing knight. After king e2. Black can continue with rook d7, with the idea of doubling the rooks on the d-file. Black has the advantage. In the game white played queen c2. Black replied d takes e5, eliminating the opponent's central pawn. In case of d takes e5, black plays bishop takes c4 and has a clear advantage. In the game, white played knight g4, with the idea of playing actively and obtaining counterplay. Black played bishop takes c4, capturing the opponent's weak pawn and threatening to change the light-squared bishops. White played bishop e4, avoiding the exchange of bishops and attacking the enemy rook. Now, the strongest move for black was 5, attacking two minor pieces. After bishop takes a8. F takes g4. Bishop e4. Black can play knight f5, with the idea of capturing on d4 and f3. Black is much better off. For example, in case of f takes e4. Black responds e takes d4. And it is not possible to capture the black knight, since black plays e takes f5 and is winning. In the game, black played rook d8, to defend the rook. White played d takes e5. Black played bishop b3, attacking the opponent's queen and aiming for the d1 square. The game continued queen e2. Rook d1 check. King f2. Rook takes h1. Black has won a rook and has an advantage. Now, white made the move bishop takes h6, sacrificing his bishop, to destroy the black king's defenses and try to attack desperately. Black played rook takes a1, capturing the other white rook. White played queen e3, with the idea of moving the queen to the king side. Black played f5, freeing the action to the queen, so that she can participate in the defense on the king side. In case of queen g5, black plays knight g6 and rejects the attack. In the game, white played bishop takes g7. Black answered f4, blocking the action for the white queen, so that she cannot go to the king side. White played queen d3 and resigned the game without waiting for the response. Since after king takes g7, black wins easily. A very instructive game in which we have seen how black used the Nimzo-Indian defense, pressed against the c4 pawn, finally managed to capture it and were left with an advantage, which allowed them to win the game.